Uh, Good evening, friends. I must apologize for the delay. I think the traffic and the rains have caused this delay, and I think we should start now. We have a fair number of people from the press. I welcome Mr. Mariwala, who's our founding trustee of Children's Liver Foundation, and Vilas also. The theme of the meeting which we are having today is thalassemia and hepatitis C, and we thought that this is a good opportunity to talk about hepatitis C on this occasion of the World Hepatitis Day. Basically, hepatitis, as you know, is a virus, and this is a virus which is spread through blood transfusions. The incidence in our country is in the tune of about 1 to 3% of the population. So that makes it about 10 to 12 million Indians have hepatitis C. And it's spread mainly through blood. In our country, I would say about 90 to 95% of individuals who are hepatitis C positive have got this virus through the blood. And of course, there are other ways of transmission, like through needle sticks, shaving blades, tattooing, blood transfusions, and other injectable drugs, surgeries. It's also transmitted if people abuse IV drugs. And of course, one thing which we should not forget is dental. We often see dentists often share equipment, do not wear gloves, etc. So these are the ways, exactly like the way HIV and hepatitis B would be transmitted, but C is particularly transmitted through blood. So this is just a basic background about hepatitis C. We will talk more and more as we go on and we get questions from you. Can we have one mic for them, Jyoti? Yeah. We have Imran, who is a patient with thalassemia and has hepatitis C with us. We have Anil, who also has hepatitis C and has had a liver transplant. And we'll talk about both of them. We'll talk about their experiences. You're free to ask them questions. And of course, we have Vinay Shetty, who's the vice president of Think Foundation which looks after the interests of patients of thalassemia. And I'm Dr. Abha Nagral from the Children's Liver Foundation. So how do we do it? Would you like to ask questions, or kind of we generally talk about the subject? You would want them to, give their stories. Okay, Imran, can you give your story?
Hi everyone, as Dr. Abha Nagral also already introduced, my name is Imran and I suffer from thalassemia major. So I also suffer from hepatitis C because of regular blood transfusion. So when I came to know that I have hepatitis C, I have hepatitis C, I was really very shattered because I already had thalassemia. I had to go for blood transfusions every week. Because of blood transfusion, there is iron overload for which I have to take injections every night. And on top of that, hepatitis C, it really made situation more miserable. So, but the damage was already done. And it happened because we really do not follow very efficient and effective method to test blood. The method what we follow right now, there's always a window period. During that period, the virus is not captured, it's not detected. So you always have a chance of getting infected blood transfused. Anyway, the damage was already done and I had to move with it. So I was introduced to Dr. Abha Nagral by Anil uncle. When I met Dr. Abha Nagral, she explained everything to me. She explained me about the disease, how dangerous it can be. I mean, if you don't go for the treatment, then you always have a risk of liver cirrhosis, your liver getting scarred, liver cancer, liver transplants, etc. She explained me about the treatment, like I have to take an injection once in a week, and that can be for 6 to 9 months depending upon the type of the virus and the viral overload. She also explained me about the side effects, like when you go for the treatment, generally your hemoglobin count goes down. So I may have to go for more frequent blood transfusions. I may get very severe body ache, very high fever. And there are incidents wherein people have got into depression. So she made me aware about all these things, and then she even spoke about the huge cost of the treatment. So the cost of the injection is around 14,000 rupees, and I had to take one injection every week for 6 to 9 months. So that goes around 3,50,000 to 4,50,000. Now, I felt very helpless about it because obviously I couldn't afford that much. So I called up Vinay uncle. I usually call him a Superman because no matter what situation you are in, he'll definitely come to rescue you. So I called up Superman Vinay uncle, and he heard my story and he just had one thing to say. Look, I mean, I know you're a very strong guy. You don't worry about anything else. You just go for the treatment and we'll manage the cost. Don't worry about anything else. So a month later, my treatment started, and when it came to the side effects, even I was not an exception. I also had a very high fever. I used to get severe body aches, and I used to hate it because I used to take my treatment on the injection on Friday, and I would not get time to hang out with my friends because I used to be sick lying down. But luckily, I did not get into depression, and eventually, these side effects, it subsided. I had to do a blood test every week to check my hemoglobin count, to check WBC counts and other parameters. And at the end of the 6 months, we did a blood check, and then we realized, oh, the medication is taking time to kill the virus. So we had to extend the treatment for another 3 months. So towards the end of the 9th month, we realized that the medicine is not working. So we had to stop the treatment because Dr. Abha Nagral, according to her, she said it makes no sense repeating the same treatment if it's not helping. So we were waiting for a new drug to get launched in the market. In the meanwhile, I kept visiting Dr. Abha Nagral once every 3 months, I think. Yeah. And during one of the visits, she said, you know what, the new drug is out. And I'm like, whoa, that's nice. And then she said, but the drug is going to cost $1,000 per pill. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So we finally have a drug that's going to cure my thalassemia as well, along with hepatitis C. She said, no, that's not the case. It's only for hepatitis C. I could not believe it because for me, the cost of Pegasus was itself very high. I mean, I couldn't afford 3,50,000 to 4,50,000 for 9 months. And this drug will cost around 2,50,000 every month. Obviously, I can't. So it is really a very sorry state wherein we just have two options. Either to accept the fact that nothing's going to happen now. We have a drug which is technically there but practically not. So just to accept it that nothing can be done and just let the liver suffer. Eventually I may get liver cirrhosis, my liver may get scarred and other scary things. Or else we just hope that someone from the government puts pressure on the pharmaceutical companies either to lower down the cost or to come up with an alternate. So yeah, saying this, I would like to end, and I just hope that we get to hear some good news soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Imran. Do you want to share your story, Anil?
Well, I've never shared my story with anyone, so this is the first time I'm doing it. Till about 2008, I did not know what is hepatitis C, and I did not know I was a completely normal person. In fact, I was partying in Goa on 31st of December 2008, and I came back on the 1st of Jan. We had a blood camp in our society, Thyrocare, 2,000 rupees for 50 tests and stuff like that. So I did a normal blood test, and the bilirubin, which is a component of the blood, was pretty high. So I went to the doctor asking him what it is. He said, "Nahi, thoda zyada pee liya rahega." So that's okay. So anyway, if you want, you can go and see the get sonograph done. And I had no intention of getting it done, so because I knew that everything is normal. So I had no case of any medical problems till that time. So I went to a sonographist who was my friend, and he asked me, "Do you have any case history?" I said, "I don't have any case history. What are you talking about?" He said that your liver has shrunk. I said, "I don't know. What are you talking about?" I mean, I was so shocked, and he referred me to an hepatologist. She did some more tests and said that I have Hep C, and I have no idea how I got the Hep C. I have had no blood transfusion in my life. Of course, I have gone and seen the dentist many a times, but I said if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. So it was a shock of my life, kind of. So, and by the time I discovered it, it was pretty, I mean, the liver had already shrunk and I had cirrhosis. So I didn't even know what is cirrhosis. I tried to browse the net and try to find out what is cirrhosis, what is stuff like that. And then I did this medication called interferon, this Pegasus and ribavirin, which is the only cure for Hep C. And then I could not tolerate it. For 10 weeks I had this medication which is pretty toxic. I had to stop it because my hemoglobin went down. So, and I discontinued it. I said, I mean, let's see what happens. And by 2012, I had started having, 2011, I started having symptoms. I had jaundice and stuff like that, but never too serious. So, but I kept reading about it, and doctors told me that this is irreversible. I mean, you're going to, since you are young, you can tolerate it, but as you grow older, it's going to damage other parts. So I started hunting for a transplant hospital. I registered for hospitals in Bombay and Delhi and stuff like that. So for a cadaver transplant, I think Bombay is the worst place to be in. You don't have any cadavers over here.
Not anymore.
Yeah,
Not
so somebody referred me to a hospital in Chennai. I got registered over there, and within 5 months, I got transplanted. That was in 2012, and it went off like a breeze. Now I have a new liver since 2 years, and I have no problems. But unfortunately, I still have Hep C. So this is still going to cause damage to my liver, maybe another few years, 10 years or so. Again, this liver would be affected. So I want to get rid of this Hep C before it damages my new liver. And I hope this new medication which is coming out, which is very expensive, and I know that they are subsidizing it to a great extent in a few countries. In a few countries, it's available at 1% of the cost. So I hope the government in India and all the authorities in India do something about it, so that people, who are suffering from this for no reason can definitely get great help on this.
So incidentally, both these patients have gone through the standard and the only treatment which we have available in India, which is pegylated interferon and ribavirin. It's an injectable and oral drug together, and both have the Hep C still, and both have not been able to tolerate the drug. In fact, they were relatively, I would say, not so advanced when they started treatment. There are many, many more patients who have much more advanced hepatitis C, and they are not even candidates, where we'll not even dare to try giving these drugs. So clearly there is a need for newer drugs, and there are oral drugs now available in the West. They are called oral directly acting antiviral agents. We are only oral drugs which have more than 90% success rate, and two of these drugs, sofosbuvir and simipravir, are already available in the West, but they cost a bomb. The cost of 6 months of treatment for both these drugs is about 1.5 crores. So they're completely beyond what our patients can afford. Imran said even 3.5 lakhs, raising that money was a nightmare for him. So you can imagine what it is going to be with these drugs. Not just that, these drugs, as he mentioned, are available in some countries. Like Egypt has the highest prevalence of hepatitis C in the world, and the Egyptian government has managed to convince the drug makers to give it at 1% of the cost. So it is possible. So we, through Think and Children's Liver Foundation, have actually petitioned the government on this, and we hope that these drugs are available early, without having going through the patent laws and through the trials, as they're calling it, because they have been tried out in Western patients, so why do we need to do trials? And like a life-saving medicine are made available early and at very, very affordable cost. That is our major plea. I would like Vinay to give his inputs. I think Egyptian government will, because they have a huge need. But I think why should we go through the tortuous route? Why not straight get it by the government for our patients?
Yeah, hello, good evening. In the first place, what I wanted to understand is, when we say hepatitis C, we also say thalassemia straight away, because these are multiple transfused kids, and even if one of those units which was transfused carries the virus, then you are in with the virus for good, actually. So if you look at the statistics, we did a mapping of all the patients who are taking transfusions in Mumbai, and we find that almost 10% of the patients are positive for hepatitis C, which is a very large number, And of course, the focus of today's, meet is to try and say that, that there is a drug that is available. It is available at an exorbitant price, and it is possible for us to now try and put. It is necessary for us to now go and put pressure on the government and on the pharmaceutical company through the government and other means to see to it that the drug is made available to all these patients at an affordable rate. That is the most important aspect, of course. But there's another couple of aspects also, which is about safety of blood itself, So we need to move in that direction also. And there, I think, again, pressure to be brought on the government is very important, because there is a national blood policy which is there. We need to ensure that the national blood policy is implemented so that voluntary blood donors come and donate blood. Okay, we have found that if there is a pressure on a donor to donate blood, there's a higher chance of him carrying a virus. And if it's going through a window period, then our children are going to have a problem. So there's one need for us to ensure that the national blood policy is implemented, and there is only voluntary blood donation that happens, which effectively means that no patient should be told to organize blood. The blood should be already there. That is one aspect. The second aspect is testing of the blood. The mandatory tests that are laid down now is ELISA, actually, and carries a large window period, and we need to now upgrade the testing methods, really. We need to go for NAT testing, and NAT testing will bring down the window period to something like 6 or 7 days, actually, So which means we are reducing the risk tremendously, really. So these aspects are also very important. But today what we want to focus is that there is a drug that is available. It is much less harsher than the earlier regimens that were there. It is much more effective than the earlier regimens that were there. Only thing is the price. How do we now bring it within our range, really? And for that, we need to put pressure on all the people, on all the, through all sources on the pharmaceutical companies, and to see whether we can have somebody making the drug over here in India. Because what's the point in having a drug and not making it available? And we don't want everything to be reduced to a statistic. There is Imran, there is Anil, there are so many other people. They are individuals. Otherwise, people keep talking about, 1,500 people were there and so and so, so and so. These are all real individuals, actually. So we need to put pressure and ensure that the drug is made available at an affordable rate. Thank you.
Yeah, just carrying forward from what Vinay said, we did a study through CLF and Think Foundation along with the Indian Association of Study of Liver, where we looked at the prevalence rates of hepatitis C in 5 centers across India in thalassemic patients. And we actually compared the rate of hepatitis C before 2001 and after 2001, because 2001 was the year when mandatory testing for hepatitis C was made by the government for the blood banks. Incidentally, the virus was discovered in 1990. So it took actually 1 decade for the government to make it compulsory in our country, whereas in the West, within a year or two, mandatory testing had already started. So in a way, this is something which we are responsible for. We have created actually this disease. And we found that the prevalence in thalassemics before 2001 was about 13%, or rather after 2001 was 13%, but before 2001 was about 26%. So just screening of blood itself. And in the beginning, we didn't have very sensitive tests, as Vinay said. Even now, though we have the third generation ELISA, it still misses out those in the window period. So still there is transmission happening in spite of all the tests. And Think Foundation is really working hard to get NAT testing implemented in all the blood banks. Incidentally, all the children which you are seeing outside, which, who will be attending our program subsequently, are all children with thalassemia and hepatitis C.
In ELISA test?
Window period can be a couple of months. It can be 2 to 3 months. Whereas by doing NAD, it's brought down to a few days. Yeah.
And remember that the shelf life of the RBCs is 42 days. So you cannot wait till the 2 months are over and then think about giving the blood.
Yeah. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Manoj Joshi from Lok Sabha.
Okay.
My information might be wrong, or perhaps the point has been discussed earlier, I don't know. But what I feel is that government as well as the NGOs, as much they create awareness about AIDS and so on, I don't think it is as much in case of hepatitis B or thalassemia.
Yeah, we are actually attempting to do that. And
My question is whether it is true and why.
it is true. It's just that AIDS has that aura around it. It's a more, what should I say? It's more of a fashionable
But
thing to talk about AIDS.
When I had a look on the press note, I think it's no lesser serious. I mean,
Yes, it is. And it is in fact transmitted very similar to AIDS also. In fact, if you look at the AIDS story, now that you talk of AIDS and the AIDS drugs, the antiretroviral therapy, finally only when the Indian companies started making it. I remember people used to import it in the grey market when they had this, and the drug was costing 40,000-50,000 a month, which was unaffordable. And it's only when Cipla and other companies, Indian companies, started making the drug that it became accessible to. So we want something exactly like that for hepatitis C drugs, but we don't want, we hear that they'll be available end of 2015. That's another 1.5 years.
no, you are sticking only to the drugs. I am not exactly on that.
Yes, on the transmission.
Yes.
Yes, yes. So it's equally important, and Think Foundation is really working hard towards.
What is the overall picture? I mean, all over.
Would you do you want to talk about that, Vinay?
Yeah. See, when we talk about creating awareness, normally our focus is to create awareness so that we prevent thalassemia major from happening. When I'm talking about thalassemia, I'm not talking about hepatitis C right now. I'm talking about thalassemia itself. Our whole focus is to try and see that there's prevention that happens. And there what we are doing is we're dealing with people who are healthy. Why would a healthy person read something which is written in the paper about thalassemia? Okay, so that is our challenge really, And that's why even if there are a lot of articles which are written on thalassemia, nobody reads it. So while there is a lot of support that comes from the media, it is not effective. If I have had Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan and Jackie Shroff talking about thalassemia, you have a remote in your hand, you can switch channels immediately, There's a 4-column article in the Times of India which talks about thalassemia. There's a small article which says, Sachin Tendulkar went with somebody to some restaurant and had something. Nobody's read the 4-column article on thalassemia. Everybody has read that small little article. So there's a challenge here. So maybe we need to now try to have a peg on which we can, the Pasha campaign or whatever that is. We need to have some such effective, creative campaign which will make people sit up. Yes, there is surely a need for us to create the awareness.
The only positive thing I see in it is in case of voluntary blood donors, most of them, they are aware that most of the blood goes, it's used for the thalassemia patients. So that's only a good side of it.
Yeah. That one ad which comes on television, which shows a little girl going from table to table and thanking people sitting at the table, and then this gentleman looks at her and says, what is the thank you for? So she says, I am a thalassemia major and somebody gives me blood every month, and I don't know who's the person who's giving blood. That has been a very effective campaign. But what happens is, that is one aspect. If you want to talk about thalassemia major, I think the awareness which is required is more among the medical fraternity, among the health authorities and all those people, But if you're talking about mass media, the awareness is required to prevent the thalassemia major really, So we are lacking somewhere, where there's no question about that. but it's a very challenging thing, to how do I explain thalassemia when you're not interested in reading about it? Therefore, there has to be some ad agency which will help us in building a campaign. But yes, about this, because we are talking specifics, we can easily create awareness about how there are so many children who are, so many patients of thalassemia major who are infected with hepatitis C. The media can write about it, and we can create the awareness. Yes, that is possible, and I think we should do that, in a more effective manner. But the challenge is in the prevention part, really, And even when you talk about the awareness about blood donation, if I don't do a blood donation camp in your office, the same person who has seen the ad does not go and donate blood. So it is actually taking delivering the product over there. You need to take it there to where the person
It is
sitting.
also the other way around. Actually, I was thinking in mind, if you have arranged it here, I will donate and go then. But you have failed for that.
True. So anyway, so that's what it is actually, So awareness is always a big challenge, and how to deliver the product after creating the awareness is another challenge, Sorry, yeah.
How many children did you or patients did you look at in the 5 centers? What's the total?
It was above 3,000, around 3,001.
3,000? And what was the age group like?
It was the entire, right from 3 years of age to 20 years of age, or even.
They were mostly youngsters.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because hepatitis C is. They start blood transfusions. Thalassemia major patients start blood transfusions soon after birth, because it gets diagnosed very early. They come with severe anemia, so it's a wide range. But yes, it starts with the children only.
And what is the span in which the health might worsen?
See, for hepatitis C, the problem about hepatitis C is this, that when it infects acutely, so suppose I've had a blood transfusion today and the blood is infected with hepatitis C, I'm not going to have any symptoms. So the acute phase is asymptomatic, and that is why it never gets diagnosed in the acute phase. The same is true for actually, that's another big thing, patients who receive hemodialysis. They are exactly in a way like thalassemia patients who are at a very high risk of developing hepatitis C, and there are some dialysis centers which have reported incidence as high as 60%. So in the acute phase, there are no symptoms. The virus slowly multiplies in the liver, and over a period of 15 to 20 years, the liver gets scarred and develops cirrhosis. And so I would say about 80% of those who are exposed to hepatitis C will develop chronic hepatitis C, and about 20% of these will develop cirrhosis, and another 5% will develop a liver cancer. So this is the natural history of the disease. So most of the patients, by the time they become symptomatic, they already have advanced liver disease. Some directly come to us with a liver cancer. So they have very advanced disease, and that is too late to treat them anyway. The other advantage of these new drugs is they can be given even to patients in the later stage of the disease. And the companies actually are saying that we have put up the prices so high because we are preventing liver transplants. But the fact of the matter is that even in our country, how many of our patients can afford liver transplants? So that logic does not really hold for us. So this is the problem with hepatitis C, that by the time it becomes symptomatic, it's too late. We are picking up some patients early. Hepatitis C testing is done when patients are going for any surgery, like a pre-op workup, or people are going for health checkups and you find your liver tests are abnormal. Exactly the way Anil went, incidentally picked up, but he was asymptomatic, but he already had cirrhosis. So we may pick up some early patients that way. But majority of them, when they are picked up because of symptoms, it's too late.
If the drugs were to be given, the transplant could be avoided altogether because...
Absolutely.
And
that's the
it's-
whole idea.
Okay.
That's the whole idea, that if you can give it on time, you remove the source which is causing damage to the liver. So you remove the hepatitis C virus itself. So you prevent end-stage liver disease and you prevent the need for transplant.
Could you take us to the history of these drugs? When were they discovered, invented? Which pharma companies were working for this? And how many years has this whole process?
These drugs have been there for more than, I would say, about 2 decades. These drugs are in the market. And the problem is that these drugs are side effects. They are expensive. By our standards, they are still expensive. And most importantly, they are not suitable for people who have advanced disease, which is the case for most of our patients who have hepatitis C. So they are not.
Why are we talking about it now if they are there since 20 years?
We are talking about because now there are new drugs which are available in the world, but not to us.
About the new drugs. I'm asking about the combination. Yeah.
So why are we talking about them?
No. I thought you said that they were around for long.
No. These new drugs, last December, just December